Welcome to Agents Growth Academy. I am your headmaster, Jim Schubert, and I hope you are ready to grow big or go home. Today, I've got with me David Watson from Risk Advisor, and he's going to share with us how to write more profitable personal lines insurance. The key word there being profitable, and he's got a great tool that's going to answer the how piece of that. So we'll get into that in a second. First, David is a partner of Mappus Insurance Agency. Hope I'm saying that right, David.
You got it.
Nice. Nailed it. Which is an independent insurance firm in South Carolina that specializes in personal and business insurance. David is also the founder of Risk Advisor, an InsurTech SaaS tool that helps independent agents streamline the insurance quoting process and write more profitable personal lines accounts. With Risk Advisor, over the past 2 years, David has written over $1 million in personal lines insurance premium each year, and his goal is to help other independent agents write more profitable accounts too. He believes the independent agent is invaluable to the insurance buying process. Yes, sir. And he's on a mission to help agents around the country grow and thrive. I love it. Welcome to Agents Growth Academy. David, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, sir. You and I traded weather this week because it's like 88 degrees up here in Rhode Island, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but for us with no air conditioning anywhere, it's pretty hot. So you're going to hear like seagulls and birds and stuff. And but
Hey,
you look
people
nice and
pay
cool.
money for that ambient noise, so you got it going on.
That's right, man. That's right. We were talking off air. This is so appropriate. You use Marblebox, and they are one of our newest partners of the podcast. Marblebox, for people who don't know, is basically a virtual insurance processing team. So it's essentially outsourcing some of the more mundane, repetitive, low value tasks that don't have anything to do with interacting with clients. So I'm curious to know how you are using Marblebox.
Yeah, absolutely. So both inside of our agency, but specifically with Risk Advisor, one of the big things before getting straight to your question, one of the big things I've always said is you don't need to pay someone who might be making, if it's a producer, could be making upwards of $100,000 a year
Yeah.
to do a $10 to $12 task.
Yeah.
And Marblebox, like you mentioned, we use them in our agency as part of our processing team, our data entry team. And that's honestly one of the main things that Risk Advisor grew out of is there were teammates who each team member was sending quote information over to Marblebox a different way.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more that Risk Advisor will do that we'll get into. But one of the best things about it is, in my unbiased opinion, obviously very biased, but in my opinion, there's no more streamlined way to get personalized quote information over to Marblebox or virtual assistants that sets them up for success. One thing that's always, if you're trying to bring on a virtual assistant, whether it's Marblebox, who I would recommend, or anyone else out there,
Yeah.
one of the things that always comes up is if you don't have a good sales process in your agency and you're trying to get them to start doing the quoting for you, you're behind the eight ball.
Yeah.
With Risk Advisor, we've already done that sales process for you when it comes to quoting with virtual assistants.
That's awesome. So it's safe to say that Marblebox saves you time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we actually just increased them from one team member to two. So we've
Good for
got
you.
80 hours a week with them. And you multiply that out about how much we're paying them versus an in-house team member,
Yep.
and look at the 80 hours. You can quickly determine how much profit they're able to add to your bottom line there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're in the same boat, my friend. We're about to go from 1 to 2, and we've only been using them for a couple months now. And we just gotten so much value out of having. I think they did the Marblebox employees, they say, that we have did like 560 tasks for us in the first month alone. And it was at a time when we were actually down a personal lines account manager. So it was
Oh, perfect.
really, really needed. and
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, and then bringing on the person that just replaced the person that left from Southern States Insurance was actually a whole lot easier for them to kind of plug and play because they didn't have to play as much catch up with 560 tasks that they had on their plate. So
Yep,
phenomenal.
100%.
That's awesome. Anybody want to check that out? Just go to marblebox.com. Fantastic company. So what I'm curious to know is what was the pivotal moment, or was there an epiphany for you where you said, okay, we've got to write personal lines more profitably, and we've got to make a tool, not use a tool, but we're going to make a tool to help us with that.
Yeah, so it's kind of twofold. One, so I started an independent agency in 2016 called Blue Lake Insurance, and was a startup. No book, no, I didn't purchase anything, and was a one man shop. And I tried everything under the sun when it came to automating the entire process, trying to make it to where, oh, I can handle this huge volume because they're filling out links with forms and giving me all the data. All I have to do is plug it into a Rater and shoot it back to them and get them the cheapest quote without ever actually having to talk to them.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking back to those days, and I mean, 10 to 15% closing ratio. You're buying internet leads. You're going through this whole show with them, and you're not seeing the results, and it's just exhausting. And then on top of that, because you sold on price, as soon as their premiums go up and you're $10 more a month, they're going to do exactly what they did to come to you. Is they're going to go shop you out somewhere else. And
Yeah.
so it was just one of those things where I knew there had to be a better way. And part of that came when I was acquired and merged with Maps Insurance out of Charleston, and met one of my business partners, Andrew Muller, as we were heading out to Phoenix for innovation. That's a pretty crazy story how we met each other. I'll have to tell you that another time. But
Does it involve
um,
alcohol?
no, it involves being broken down on the side of the interstate. But
Oh, jeez.
yeah, like I said, it's a pretty crazy story.
Like
But
every good insurance story starts, right?
exactly, hangover without the alcohol in that situation. But no, as I started coming into the Mappus organization and learning more about not just coastal insurance, but higher value, seeing some higher premiums than a $500 homeowners policy or something like that. Um, One of the things that I learned very quickly, and something that Mappus was already doing, and came along, and I feel like I helped push that even further, was not focusing on price. And if you're in IOA, if you're in the soup, if you're in any of these Facebook groups out there, you're always, anytime someone brings up selling on value, there's always going to be that one guy that's like, price is always important. And yes, price is always important, but
Yeah.
what value can you give someone for that price? And on the personal line side, that is tough in today's market, because you've got Progressive, who some of us might have in our agency, but they've got the Home Quote Explorer or whatever they're calling it. You've got your big name independent carriers. You've got these insure techs that are trying to weed out the agent and things like that. And it kind of just dawned on me one day when it came to how you position yourself is from the first conversation. And so we had this PDF risk profile, and it was a very mundane process. You fill it out, whether you writing with chicken scratch or we had it fillable so you could do it on your computer. But then we were sending it over to Marblebox, and someone on the team might send it saved PDF that was typed so it's easy to read.
Yeah.
Someone else might have chicken scratched on it. Someone else might have the deck pages and driver's license, so they just send it that way. And Marblebox was doing a great job with it, but it just wasn't a streamlined process.
Yeah.
And so I started at Innovation again. It was Vegas. I can't remember which year that was, but it just kind of
That's
dawned
because
on
it
me
was
one day. It's like
Vegas.
there's gotta exactly there's gotta be a better way to do this.
Yeah.
And I went through 20 different form makers trying to find something that because I couldn't find anything that worked the way I wanted to work. Um, Went through 20 different form makers, spent upwards of 60, maybe more, 60 more hours building a jot form for our team. And
Yeah.
first year that we built it, after introducing it, we put about 1,200 personalized submissions through it. And it kind of just dawned on me one day. It's like, one, if we're going to go further with this in our own agency, I've got to custom build this. And two, there's other agents out here who need this process to realize that focusing on price and selling on price doesn't have to be the only way.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So, what was the transition like when you decided, okay, this is not like this is good for us, but we want to build this out for other agents too? Did you have to do more customization for them, or was it just kind of like you're going to build the best tools and you're going to put together all the best tools in the toolbox that you have for you and then just market it?
Yeah, so it started out where just honestly just made a decision like, hey, we're jumping in on this. We raised a little bit of money from friends and family. I've been putting in some of my own money and just hired a developer and started building this out literally from scratch. It's not something that's white labeled. It's not something where if you do the right Google search, you're going to find the product that we bought and just resold. It is completely ground up, customized, and it's been a really cool experience just because, um, like, yes, I have business ownership experience, but a SaaS product is completely different than an
Oh
insurance
yeah.
agency,
Yeah.
and it's been a huge learning curve. And I've told people in the past, when it comes to the insure tech space, we probably didn't pick the sexiest thing to build, because so many out there are all about like, let me make it easier. And what I mean by that is a client facing link or intake forms or trying to build funnels and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we realize that what we're building is not for, maybe not for everybody, but those who are wanting to go more in depth, build rapport with their clients, have more clients tell you before you get off the phone, hey, it's your business, just tell me what I need. Um, Cross sell more umbrellas, higher limit umbrellas. Then we've built something that can definitely help you out, without even getting into the sales process being written for you when it comes to handing off and allowing your virtual assistant team to do the data entry and quoting for you.
So if somebody is using this software, can you kind of walk me through a typical workflow or case study, I
Yeah.
guess?
Yeah, so what we've kind of built is more so along the conversation than the segmented step by step that you'll see in like a rater.
Hmm.
And so a lot of the questions are phrased to where if a producer gets stuck or if they've only been writing insurance for a couple of days, it's just, hey, repeat this question back to the client. And
Mm.
if they tell us how they answer, and if they answer this way and there's more information that is needed, you'll see those questions appear.
Okay.
And
Kind of like a flow
so,
chart.
yeah, basically, I mean, it's not yet, at least it's not a like a word script. That's
Yeah.
something that we've got in our future plans, but it almost works like that already, to where as you're going throughout it, if it's something that you need more detail, you get it. So like a perfect example is this your primary home, or how often will you be living? So if they answer primary, you don't have anything more in detail to go. But if they answer secondary or seasonal or full-time rental property, there's questions hidden under that that are automatically going to be popping up for them.
Got it.
And then like our exposure section is a big thing. because it's something that not a lot of people, not a lot of agents will ask on the front end. Where, okay, what type of animals are in the household? Okay, you have dogs. How many? Um, Making sure that you're getting information about the pool, if it's got a diving board, things like that, to kind of put you out in front of the conversation.
Yeah.
Another big thing that is one of my favorite features of the product that's really helped me personally is our umbrella calculator, our estimated liability risk calculator.
Oh.
And so what we've done is if you ask the person their gross annual income and their estimated net worth, we're going to kick out a estimated liability risk. And Chris Paradiso talked about it in Kansas City, where like every single client on your book of business needs some type of umbrella.
Right.
You're not like, if it's just somebody starting out their first paying job where they're making $80,000, but they've got debt and they've got no assets. They still
Hmm.
have their greatest asset is still going to be their future earnings potential.
Yeah.
Um, so what we've done with that estimated liability risk is set up agents who don't. It might just be a $300,000 house because it's someone who's super modest, but they're making $350,000 a year and they need a $4 million umbrella.
Yeah.
But what we've done is pretty much automate that based off of two questions on helping you upsell. And I say upsell loosely. I hate that term when it comes to
No,
this
I
because
know
it's
what you mean.
truly something somebody needs.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Round out.
exactly
Yeah. Yeah.
taking care of somebody's true liability risk.
Yeah. When you were talking about animals and dogs, it made me think you've got to find a way where if like the software could pick up the bark of a dog, it would pop up the question, "What kind of dog do you have there?"
Love that idea. We'll see what we can. Or the same thing with like kids crying in the background or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So, what kind of feedback have you gotten from other agencies who are using this, or your own agents?
Yeah, yeah. So answering the second part of that first,
Hmm.
I always used to joke with one of my producers when this was still on job form. Uh, I always he's younger. He's young, probably in his mid to late 20s. But for
Yeah,
whatever reason, hey, I want to do this on paper. Like this is comfortable. This is what I'm used to, and we've got a good relationship. So I always pick on him about building this out for him. Like, hey, this will help you. Like, you need to just commit to it. And then after we introduced, he had went ahead and by the time that we had introduced the true application, he was already 100% bought in. But he came to me a couple months after we rolled out the actual application and just kind of thanked me for busting him so much up about it because of the fact that like he's like there's no way that I could have written as much business this year as I had, or if did, I would have been working an extra 15, 20 hours a week using this. And um, I mean, this thing all started out with trying to, as the leader of the sales team, but also really focused on my service team. It all started out on trying to make their quality of life better and then
mm,
also help them by making more money, which would make the agency more profitable.
yeah,
And so hearing that kind of feedback has been really cool.
that's awesome. What do you think is next for Risk Advisor?
Yeah, so we're focused on integrations when it comes down to raters.
Okay.
We've heard feedback that, um, and I know this personally, that duplicate entry sucks. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We've got the Easy Links rater integration done. That's out the door, and got some agencies on that who are loving that. But some of those other raters out there, whether you're using virtual assistants or not, being able to dump that information into there to reduce duplicate entry is a big focus of ours. But a lot of it's going to be around data prefill and what, without getting too much into it, what we're going to call automated underwriting, where the conversation is going to be freed up more for the producer to be about rapport building and less about hey, how many square feet does your house have? What type of siding, or so on and so on. But then also with that automated underwriting piece, giving them the ammo, same thing with the estimated liability risk, giving them the ammo to make sure that they can truly show, like, hey, you need to consider this type of insurance because you're at risk for this or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've mentioned building rapport with clients a couple times now, and that's
Yeah.
obviously sounds like that is a key part of your ability to win business and really develop long-term relationships is what it all comes down to, right?
Yeah, one of our biggest supporters is actually a client of ours, our client of mine, and when I took him through the process a couple of years ago, he told me at the end of the conversation, he said, David, I had this was a unique situation. It was a 45-minute conversation, but that's not how long this process takes. It's just we just kept hitting on things and talking through things, and building rapport. But he told me at the end of the conversation, he's like, David, it's obvious you know what you're talking about. No one's ever asked me these questions in the way that you've asked them. You've earned my business. Show me what I need, and we'll make it happen. And this house is currently a replacement cost on Sullivan's Island of 1.8 million.
Cool.
It's it's not a small account, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things where uh, the first proposal I gave him was maxed out, like pretty aggressive with the replacement calls. Wanted to, because I built that rapport, start high, and then figured we would end up talking down a little bit to where he felt comfortable and I felt comfortable as at the same time. And first came back and he's like, "No, this is double where I'm paying. I know I'm going to pay more because of the things that we're focused on, but this is double what I'm paying. Go try again. You still got my business, but let's get on the same page here."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the only reason I mentioned that is because if it hadn't been for that rapport where on the front end and him knowing that, hey, I'm not just 100% focused on getting you the cheapest quote. I want to make sure that your investment is taken care of.
Yeah.
I contributed to that he gave me the opportunity to come back after that initial really high quote.
That's fantastic. And I totally agree with you. I think building that kind of rapport on the front end is so key. I was actually looking at a LinkedIn post that one of my employees made today. It was talking about well, actually, she was commenting on a post that I put out about a recent podcast guest, Laban Ditchburn, who fantastic guy, author of a really fantastic book, and he was talking about basically like you've got to be a good listener, and there's no way that you could have figured out from that client what they really truly needed, unless you're willing to stop and listen. And
Yep.
my employee commented and said, I search for things that I can pounce on in a conversation that help us get to a middle ground. And I said, well, that's another guy that I got to get on the show. He actually has a house here on the same island in Rhode Island too. But Chris Tuff, he talks about the race to the middle, which I think is a fantastic way of looking at when we're all trying to build rapport. The first
Yep.
thing we do, like when you and I got on the call today, even before we hit record, it was, hey, you just got back from Hilton Head. Oh, my dad had a place in Hilton Head, right? It was like we're racing to the middle as quickly
Yep.
as we can to find that common ground to build the rapport. And it sounds like you've kind of got that figured out.
I like to think so. And one of our goals every single day is to, as we continue to add features and make the application better, is that's always going to be the core product around it.
Yeah. How tough is that have you had clients who are using Risk Advisor telling you that they need something, different than they're not getting out of the software? Like what kind of challenges have you run into developing your own software?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that pretty much I would like to think anyone that knows me knows that I'm extremely transparent. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely been the case where we've had to juggle. Okay, this is a request that makes sense for your agency, but your situation is very unique.
Yeah.
Or you know what, this makes complete sense. Let's build this out and release it to everyone. And a piece of that is being that we are pretty much a bootstrapped startup where self-funding and things like that. Um, a lot of the frustrations that you'll hear from the big name insurtechs out there who don't have any insurance experience, but they've got a ton of money behind them and ton of development and stuff like that. That the downside of that is not is it taking a little bit longer to get those things out, and that's
Yeah.
something that we're fully aware of, and we're working every day to try to build a team that's going to be able to successfully build what we're wanting to do, but do it the right way, um, and put out a product that can be configured for every agency to make sense for their agency. And that's yeah, I mean that's the goal. Is one thing. I'll tell you a story about this. So when we were releasing the EasyLinks Rater integration, I knew that every state was a little bit different when it came to their coverage. Talking
Yeah.
about auto coverage specifically, but it wasn't until I realized when one of my goals with the EasyLinks Rater integration was I did not want it to be a situation where if you submitted it through Risk Advisor, that when you go into EasyLinks, you still had work to do. And I don't know which rater you're on, if you're on one, but anyone who's on EasyLinks knows the green check marks. If you've got the green check marks, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And so spent a ton of time, ton of money making sure that that was good to go. And part of that was getting the state specific coverages right. And it wasn't until like I'm having to build out this spreadsheet to show my developers, okay, if this is checked, if it's in this state, we need to show this. And like realize like Michigan, like 18 coverage lines when it comes to auto insurance. Georgia and South Carolina are pretty similar, where there's 5 or 6 coverage lines with those. But our first product that we released didn't have that state specific coverage, and it's just one of those situations where it's like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And as we've come up against those, we try to do our best to make sure that we're putting the end user, our agencies that are trusting us in the best position to not have to deal with that. Um, Really, when looking back at the job form, the whole reason I did this is I'm a big believer if it takes me an hour, 2 hours to build something that's going to save 10 to 30 seconds every single time, then that makes sense because
Yeah.
that I'm all about exponential growth and that pays off exponentially very quickly.
Yep.
So kind of gives you an insight on how we view things and what we want to do.
I love it. It's like the Billy Wagner method of simplifying your life and, you know,
Yep.
cutting 5 minutes out of your day by lasering the hair off your face so you don't have to shave every day. That's
Obviously, I'm not on that serious
yeah.
at that point yet, but yeah, exactly.
That's great. And you know what? I mean, you've got there's I apologize if you can hear the squeaking in the background. My dog has found his toy. Uh,
No worries. I'm good on my own.
this is ladies and gentlemen, this is the summer edition of Agents Growth Academy being in at my home. Yeah, so you talk about a lot of things that I've heard a lot of insurtech companies say are struggles for themselves as well. The first one being, you know, how do we handle clients who want something that's very unique to their agency but doesn't really fit necessarily with what everybody else is going to need. And then the challenges of integration, like you're talking about, you know, multi-state and different little nuances that you run into. That's did you ever think that you would be able to say, yeah, I've also got an insurtech company?
No, no. The funny thing is, so I'm coming up on 10 years in the industry, and I started my insurance career at State Farm.
Yeah.
And about a year to 18 months into my insurance career with State Farm, they approached me and said, "Hey, we want you to join the agency aspirant program." Which those who don't know State Farm, that's basically the track to
Got
owning
it.
your own
Yeah.
agency with State Farm.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with business ownership. Like, that's not me.
Yeah.
And come to find out, fast forward 7, 8 years. Not only owning one business, but owning multiple businesses, and all wrapped around the insurance industry and things like that. So it's still, I still almost feel like a fraud sometimes when I say, yeah, insure tech founder, owner, whatever you want to call it. But it's been an eye opening experience.
Well, you have a leg up on a lot of other, and I'm talking thousands of insurtech companies who have never spent 1 second in an insurance agency. And the insurtech companies that we have, for the most part, chosen to do business with had somebody that had experience or intimately knew or took the time to understand truly what the pain points were, what the struggles were inside an agency. And that's something that, yeah, I mean, you're just, you can't get that, by bankrolling your way into it. I mean, you are on the front lines, you know what the problems are. And quite candidly, kind of like my friend Peter McDonald,
Yeah.
you met him down over in Kansas City. He's, he was in an agency, a family owned agency for years, and decided that he was going to start his own thing because he understood that there are problems that agents are facing, and we need to fix this, right? So
100%.
Yeah. Well, good for you, man. What do you say we get into the rapid fire round? I got some good questions for you.
Let's do it.
All right. What's now? You can't say Risk Advisor. What's one piece of technology or software you can't live without?
Oh man, yeah, I was going back and forth on whether to say that or not. So I'm glad you took it out of the pocket for me.
I took the wind out of your sails.
Yeah. Besides the obvious of a cell phone, I guess I'm gonna go with Slack.
Okay. How do you use Slack?
Yeah. So
I know what it is, and for those that don't know, it's a messaging platform,
yeah.
right? Like an instant messaging platform.
Yeah. So the cool thing is, if I pull up my Slack, I've got 5 different entities that I'm in that Slack, or that's attached to my Slack app. So a
Okay.
risk advisor, my agency, and
Okay.
a couple of mentoring groups that I'm in, things like that. And just on the grand scale of it, it's just makes things really, really easy to have a central point of communication. And we use it in our agency for carrier updates, for sales celebrations. We got it hooked up to agency Zoom, so if someone makes a sale, it pops into our sales channel, celebrating, breeds some competition. End of the month, if it's neck and neck, people are
Ooh, I like that.
talking a little bit trash with each other.
Heck yeah.
But it's also where I've built it out to where a new lead comes in, I get a notification. I click on the link. It sends me to Zillow to look it up for the person, and I'm able to sign an emoji of whatever team member I want to send it to, all straight from Slack. So
Yeah.
if I got kicked off of Slack, it would make my day infinitely more difficult.
Well, that is a sign of a good piece of technology, then. Something you can't live without.
Absolutely.
So. That's awesome. What's one book you're reading now, or one you've read recently you want to share with folks?
Yeah, so it's Founders Brand is one that I'm working through right now, and one of the things both in my agency and in Risk Advisor um, and I've been told this off and on over the years, but telling your story. I do it a lot when I'm talking with insurance clients, a lot when I'm on discovery calls for Risk Advisor, but something I need to do a better job of is making time to do it in publicly posting and things like that. And the Founders Brand is a great book if you own a business, or even if you're working for an agency and you like your book of business is your business.
Yeah.
Being able to tell and use your story to communicate is vitally important.
You are speaking my language, brother. I'm literally writing a book on the power of storytelling in business right now, and I'm gonna have to pick that
Can't
one
wait to
up
read
too.
it.
Yeah. Well, you and I were talking offline about, Danny Kimball reintroduced us. We did meet
Yep.
in Kansas City, but only briefly. And when she reintroduced us, I did not know that she helped you kind of implement Story Brand, which is Donald Miller's book and concept, into, I think, your branding and your website, correct?
Yeah, so she did a great job to kind of taking us through that entire process, and kind of whether it's the discovery call, the website, the articles that we put out, or even just when we're writing a new article, taking it through that process.
Yeah.
Um, she did a phenomenal job walking us through that process to remind, even though you're telling your story, it's not no one really cares about you specifically unless
Yeah.
you're able to show them how your story helps them. And
Right.
honestly, like, if you're not doing that, you're not really providing much value anyways. And
Yeah.
then you're just starting to, if you're telling your story without saying, hey, this is how my story can help you, then all you're doing is bragging.
Yeah. I actually noticed at the beginning when I asked you, what was the pivotal moment for you to create Risk Advisor, and you started by telling the audience what life was like beforehand, and then explaining what the transformation was, which is the one of the key components to storytelling, is taking the listener or the reader through the transformation process that they themselves want to have. So
Yeah, no, I
you've
appreciate
been
you pointing
paying
that out.
attention.
Yeah, I'll need to send that clip to Danny, so that way I can tell her that she did a great job.
Yeah, she did. She did. She's such a great person, so humble, and I had no idea until she put it on LinkedIn that her great grandfather was one of the Menchie brothers who created the original recipe for the hamburger. Did you know
I
that?
missed that. I did
Yeah.
not know that. That's
Oh
fantastic.
man, they created an NFT that launched on the Ethereum blockchain recently. That's got all these like, or it's about to launch. It's and she's creating the story and the brand for this, but it's a family brand essentially that goes back a couple of generations. But yeah, her great grandfather was one of the people that invented the hamburger. Who would have known? Who would have known? She's so
I
humble.
didn't realize I was in the presence of royalty.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, you need to text her or call her after this and let her know. Like,
Absolutely.
um, that's awesome. I love this one. I've started asking folks, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I think the easy one would be to take coding classes, so that way I could do build more of this app myself. But um, I remember going through high school and even college when I didn't finish college. But one of the biggest things that I've developed kind of along the way is the desire to learn.
Hmm.
And uh, one of those things where I always look back in my life, and specifically high school, is I don't know if it's I can teach myself this since I don't really know how it started, but figuring out that desire to learn earlier on
Yeah.
in high school and in college, and maybe I would have picked up on a couple more of those software classes that I took, or coding classes, but then same thing with business classes and things like that. But I don't. I might have given myself a cop out there because I don't really know if I could teach myself that earlier on. But the desire to learn earlier on would been great.
Well, yeah, and I understand that. You know, my kids, I recently gave them a challenge because they were begging me.
I saw that.
Yeah, you and I are similar in regard to like having, multiple businesses and having that entrepreneurial spirit, and they were begging me to help them start a business, and I said, well, I'm limited on time, but here's what I can do, and I gave them a challenge, and it sounds like you already saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
to
I saw
read a
that. And
couple of books.
yeah, I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. It blew up out of nowhere too. I've never had anything go viral before, but I think it's sitting at like over 300,000 something likes and all this. It's crazy. Yeah. I
That's awesome.
did not expect that. Um, that's great. So now this is a tricky one because it's wicked hot where I am. You're in South Carolina. This might not be the best time to ask you, but I'm going to ask you anyway. If you had the choice between soup or marshmallows, and I'm talking gourmet marshmallows or any kind of soup that you would love to have, what would you rather have, soup or gourmet marshmallows?
So people are gonna make fun of me for this.
Marshmallows and hot chocolate. Sorry, I should
Okay.
specify. Yeah.
I don't like marshmallows, so it's a very clear answer.
Oh, that's
But it
easy.
also works out that I love baked potato soup. That even if I had liked marshmallows, that would have been the same answer. My wife makes some of the best baked potato soup, and during the winter, it's probably once every 10 days that we're making that.
Ooh, nice.
Yep.
When do I get the invite to your house, by the way?
Hey, next time you're flying down from Rhode Island, just stop in Columbia.
Heck yeah, man. Well, the good news is, most of the year I live in Atlanta, so we're not that far from each other.
Nope.
So we're going to send you, Agents Growth Academy is going to send you a soup package from Spoonful of Comfort, which we offer to the guests that choose that. And
Awesome.
our guests love it. Our employees love it. We give it to all of our employees last year when we couldn't meet in person for our annual employee appreciation event. And I wish that I had thought like what I teach my younger self. Give people soup. They love it. It was like one of the biggest hits that we ever had in terms of giving swag or gifts to our employees. If I'd only
That's
known that
all.
soup was the way to go.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. So I'll get your address offline. We'll get that out to you. David, what's one final piece of advice or actionable step for our audience that you would leave them with based on anything we talked about today?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing for I think that any agency can use is taking the time to evaluate and put into place processes.
Yeah.
The process to protect your time if you're an agency owner. The process of celebrating wins if it's agency Zoom, better agency, posting that into Slack. If it's the process of sending soup to your employees, taking the time to build out processes. Now, luckily for all those people who want to take action steps on that, with Risk Advisor, we've got the sales process taken care
Yeah.
of.
Awesome. I love it. Good plug.
You got to.
I know you got to get it in there, man. If you didn't do it, I was going to do it for you.
I
Where
should have
can
let you do it,
people?
man.
I know, no, you're good, man. Where can people learn more about you and Risk Advisor if they want to get more of you and that in their lives?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Risk Advisor, you can find us on our website at riskadvisor.insure.
Okay.
That's our website. You can see the awesome Chris Langill's work over at Advisor Evolve. And then for me, I'm pretty sure my face or my LinkedIn profile, I think is Agent David Watson, where you can hit that up. But David at riskadvisor.insure is another really easy spot, or Facebook. I'm pretty open on Facebook, so anybody can find me on there, and love to set up a call and chat with anybody, whether it's just about insurance, risk advisor, coastal risk, or anything like that. Love to chat with anyone who would find it beneficial.
Awesome. Love it, man. Hey, it's been very enlightening to me to understand more about how to write personal lines more profitably how to build rapport, and all the other things we talked about. I really appreciate you being on today, David.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for making time for me.
My pleasure. You stick around for me. Everybody else, get ready in your life after this to grow big or go home. Be well, friends.